Good evening, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are doing conquesting things over and over again and every day. Keep battling on, as we always call that. And thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you guys for all the good wishes. And thank you guys for all the great ideas and the likes and subscriptions. And it all, as well as all the feedback, positive, some negative, things that we do. Now, I will say this real fast here again, as we've talked about this a couple times before. The reason that I kind of scream and I got a battle cry in many ways is because this is a battle, my friends. And if you're going to use this to meditate and go to sleep and things like that, obviously that's going to be your choice. But it's a battle cry. Now, what I can do is, as you guys know, I go to the end. There's always a signal. I always kind of give you a heads up saying there's two things to keep in mind. Two things we always say. First, we talk about the fact that every day is a great day to a new warrior. And you know what I'm going to say after that. So you have the choice, my friends. Warriors, if you want to shut it off, that's great. But I'm going to continue to do this because I think it's important for us to realize the battle. And this is the key thing, especially with the images and the problems that we have in the society. And we're going to talk about that in a second with one of our viewers talking about, and we talking about video games. We'll talk about this in a second. All right, so about a couple shout outs before we do that. dirtymint, thank you, my friend. TK2112. H Play Studios, thank you, my friend. Jose Cardenas, thank you. Moy Hernandez, once again, thank you. Elan Mua, thank you. Alvin, Money Mosur 7, thank you. Fresh Start, Josef Sagmeister, thank you. Oldstuff, and Absurd, and once again, Money Mauser number 7, and Limited to This Vision a couple year as well. So we'll continue some of the shouts as we go along, as we go day by day. But let's get to our topic in 2 minutes here and talk about something that Eric and we put together, and the impact of video games on semen retention. So this is a very interesting topic because you may have not said this in the past, but I've had a lot of experience with video games over the last 20 some years, and I used to play Madden football all the time, and I used to play a lot of the college basketball games and college football games, and a lot of different things, like zombies and World at War, what it was called, those type of things. And I played a lot of those things, and I could tell you some of my experiences. Now, I don't have any documented research on this, though I could probably talk about some of the things that you see in these video games. But again, remember, people are trying to attract you to buy the video game. This is one of those sheep mentalities that will go on as long as people continue not to think about what they're doing. For instance, just like the phones, you see people switching phones every 6 months because they want the newest phone. This is one of those status things that you see, but again, it's an illusion because all they're doing is competing with other people, and they want to say they got the newest phone, whatever that's going to give them. They're going to continue doing that. The same thing with the extra systems that you have in video games. The new PlayStation, whatever it might be now, those type of things are always new ones, and people want the newest one, newest game, those type of things. But always remember, when you do those type of things, you're not really focusing on the game itself. You're focusing on some level of accomplishment you feel that you have to your ego, but it's not an actual accomplishment. All you're doing is buying something, and you're feeling, okay, I've overcome something here, and it really is not something that you actually kind of take to you. And as you play video games, there is a component, I think it's almost like the computer type of thing, where you're getting these rays and these things, the waves come at you. And I know that teaching physics, I understand a lot about sound waves and a lot about light waves and those type of things. And I think those things, the blue light and things like that, can affect you when it comes to the computers. And certainly if it affects you with the computers, it's going to affect you with the video games. And so that alone is one thing. You can't be sitting there all day playing video games. There's a lot of examples, especially in countries like Korea and even the United States, where people have died just playing video games. They're not even eating anything. They just continue getting so addicted to that. And that's the second problem with video games when it comes to our journey. You become very addicted to the video game. And so instead of sitting there and accomplishing your goals and worrying about things you're doing, you're going to be sitting up all night playing video games. And again, this is when Satan can attack you at night, and all of a sudden those type of video games, who have a lot of violence and a lot of sex and those type of things, are things that can get you very much into a rabbit hole, and down that rabbit hole you go, and now you're going to be releasing, and you're going to cause yourself more and more problems as time goes on. So addictive nature of video games is also something you have to be careful of. And so in many ways, it's no different than the images you have in other types of things. Oh, you're getting excited, and all of a sudden now you're releasing. You're tired, you're not getting any sleep, you're playing video games all night, and you got to go to work the next day, and all of a sudden now you have problems at work. All these things accumulate because you have not gotten enough sleep, and because you've kind of played into the whole idea of this addictive type of thing. So addictions can happen everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's alcoholism, doesn't mean if it's drugs, obesity, sex, images. It can be video games, it can be gambling, anything you can have. That you overdo it is a problem. So when we talk about this whole idea of the video games, we understand that there's images there, and that's part of the problem. And obviously they're going to make those images as sexy as possible, so you get more people paying attention to those things. Almost like that whole idea over the years with the calendar, the car and the girl. Well, of course, you're going to be more attracted because you got the girl with the car, and that's going to draw more people to buying the car. A very, very sleek type of way to market, but we know that sex sells because people love looking at pictures, especially men. Women not so much, but women do at times. But it's really men who tend to focus on those things, and this is why we have the problem in our society, where we have people who are really kind of, focusing on the images and demasculating males because they're watching images and releasing all the time. And that's the one thing you cannot do, is get yourself caught in that type of pattern in which you're watching, whether it's video games, you're watching images on TV, internet, things like that. All the same thing is the same thing. You're talking about, in your mind, you're focusing on seeing an image, and whether that image comes from a television set, a computer, those type of things can do nothing but hurt you when it comes to these type of things. Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy a video game. My son plays video games, and I'll play once in a while. But we're talking about another one of those addictive type qualities in which you're basically kind of now submerging yourself in. And some people, they get to the 3D variety, and all of a sudden they got glasses on, and all of a sudden they're doing virtual types of games, and eventually that once again leads you down to a path where you're sitting playing those games all day long, and you're not accomplishing a lot of things with your life. And this is where God wants you to accomplish things with your life, and not to pay attention to a lot of these type of things that you're watching. So this is the type of thing we're talking about with video games. I think it's a great idea you came up with and talked about, because it is something that can affect us, and we have to be careful of that as warriors. All these things can affect us from releasing, and we got to not release and transmute. Now, of course, if you're married and you're trying to have children, or you're procreating with your wife, that's a whole different type of thing. But once again, it's very easy to find things to release to, and people get into a habit, and once again you form a habit. Now again, to break the habit of video games, once again you go back to the same old philosophy we talk about. Any habit can be broken if you go ahead and focus on this 3-week type period of time. Now you may take one step at a time. I made a couple good comments today talking about the different levels. One person I think wrote, and we'll have to catch up with it later, but 30 years, just almost like my situation. I had 47 years of little by little increasing until you kind of figured out the pattern and figured out what to do. And again, some people have to edge, some people have to do different things to get to that point, but the main thing is you're getting to that point. And I think God always will try to help you get to that point. The same thing with video games. If you are now a person out there who is addicted to video games, and we've had a few people talk about different types of addictions today. Again, guys, take it one step at a time. Going cold turkey is not easy. There are people who have done it. But the thing about it is that you have to kind of realize that it's a battle. You build a habit, now you have to build a different habit. And so you take that one step at a time, and then you kind of see some success and then keep moving forward and doing it. So to stop video games and addiction to video games, again, you do the same type of thing. But the best thing, and I think someone mentioned it as well today, talking about the idea that you got to keep yourself busy. Lots of things to do. Don't have time to focus on video games, and of course don't have time to focus on images of women and things like that. And then all of a sudden, even if you get hit with something, you have a lot of things to fall back on and do. And that's the key to it. Keep working on things, keep improving yourself, keep focusing on bettering yourself, and you won't have any trouble succeeding, but you also have success in trying to limit those addictions, and video games are one of those. So, you can't have some fun video games like anything else, and moderation is always the key, as we always talk about in the Bible. But the key is really focusing on your goals and playing it at times with your kids or your friends, things like that. But don't make it a habit where you're just doing it all the time. Again, you're not getting away from the main goal, and that's to become the best person you can become. You're not going to be doing that by playing video games all day. All right, my friends. Well, thanks again, we, and Eric, for that comment. I appreciate that. And once again, a warning, 2 things we're going to say before we take off here. 1, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And guys, remember always to battle!